Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Monday Night Football picks between the Colts and the Ravens. I hope you guys had a good weekend. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It was a very high-scoring Sunday, so you did need a lot of points from your lineup. Personally, didn't have the best day, so looking forward to tonight's showdown picks. See if we can get back on track today. And NBA starting in about a week, so I'm looking forward to that. Have been posting preseason, that's been going well. Basically just playing the Chicago Bulls in preseason because their starters are playing a crazy amount. It's been going well. So let's get into the picks today. Try to make some money to get into the to build some bankroll for NBA. Looking at the snap counts today, we have for the Colts, we'll start with the Colts. They have play a lot of guys, so there's opportunity for the touchdowns to come from people that are going to be low owned. Like we saw in years past with the Saints, when they seem to always get those 1% owned touchdowns on showdown slates from their tight ends. Today, you're going to get a good amount of production from Pittman and Pascal in terms of snaps. They're both going to play about 80+% of snaps. You'll get some for Campbell. Then you got a couple of guys like Doolin mixed in at the bottom. If we look at the shift right over to the Baltimore receivers, it's going to be Watkins. Well, last week Watkins played the most. If we look back at week 3, that game also was kind of a blowout at the end, so they didn't have to play Marquise Brown a ton, but he still looks like Watkins plays the most snaps on the team, followed by Marquise Brown. Duvernay plays the third, and then you're seeing this guy at the bottom, Prochet, play more and more last week. He went up from 22% in week 3 up to 33% in week 4, and he played really well. He tied for the team league in targets. He's only $1,000 on Draftkings, so keep an eye on James Prochet, somebody that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of, so he might not be. I don't expect him to get that much ownership on a showdown slate, but at just $1,000, he could pay off, especially if they give him some more snaps from his big game from last Sunday. So that's the guy to keep an eye on the Baltimore side. If we look at the running backs, for some reason, Tyson Williams, they just don't like him, and they gave him a healthy scratch. So it looks like it's going to be Latavius Murray to play the most of the snaps at running back, especially because Le'Veon Bell did play like 20+% of snaps, but then they sent him back to the practice squad. So I don't know if he's gotten called back up. I don't think he has, which means you're probably going to see either Williams becomes active and they play him a little bit, or you're going to see good minutes good snaps for Devontae Freeman backing up Murray. So that's something we'll have to wait and see once the actives and inactives come out tonight. The Colts running backs are also not going to be the easiest. They play 3 guys. Jonathan Taylor plays most of the snaps, and you get Hines. And last week, Marlon Mack. They're trying to trade Mack, so we might get him some production here. He got 10 carries, even though Frank Reich said he probably wants to get like 5 carries for each of Hines and Mack. But he got 10 carries. Even if he gets 5 to 10 touches at $600, that could make a difference if one of those happens to go for a big gain, or if one of those happens to come near the goal line. We always know coaches can frustrate us with that, but you do have 3 running backs to kind of figure out. It's basically 2 guys that Mac could be kind of the guy that steals some production away from Jonathan Taylor if he's given like 7 carries. And looking at the tight ends on the Colts, you got 2 touchdowns last Sunday for Mo Alley Cox. He played almost 70% of snaps. Jack Doyle only played 21 because he was dealing with a back injury, but then you saw, so that's why Granson played a lot. He played 30 snaps. But usually you'll see Mo Alley Cox, Jack Doyle play the most, and you'll see Granson play a little bit. Maybe on some passing down work he can get some action. They did want to utilize him more the rest of the year in terms of just being on the field and running some routes. He's $200. He could catch a pass or 2, maybe get a couple of targets. But unless like Doyle, if he's limited again, which I don't think he will be, or if somebody happens to get hurt at the tight end position, I don't think he's going to make too much of a difference. But on a showdown, anybody that's going to play 20+% of snaps potentially is going to be interesting. So keep an eye. Him and Prochet are the 2 guys at the bottom. I like maybe Marlon Mack or Devontae Freeman. I think Devontae Freeman, if they decide to keep Tyson Williams inactive and they keep Le'Veon Bell on the practice squad, then he would be somebody that would get a good amount of carries as the backup. And then looking, last but not least, at the Baltimore tight end situation, you're getting Mark Andrews starting to play a lot better. Then you get Tomlinson mainly as a blocker, Oliver mainly as a blocker. I don't know if those guys will get you a lot of targets or anything like that. Maybe you get one target. He's gotten one in each game. So for Josh Oliver, somebody you could keep in your player pool, I would probably play him over Tomlinson, who hasn't even gotten any targets yet. He's just used for his blocking. So overall, got a bunch of guys that you could make a case to play on a showdown. Looking at just the top plays here, Lamar Jackson always the top play on a showdown. I do like Marquise Brown a lot, but he's really expensive. He's $2,000 more than the Colts' #1 wide receiver, and Pittman, he's more expensive than Carson Wentz. So I'd probably get to like Carson Wentz first, maybe try to get to Pittman if I want to stack Carson Wentz with his #1 weapon. But you have Latavius Murray at 74. He's probably going to look at like close to 20 touches. He's not going to, I hope he starts to get some targets out of the backfield. But if that's not going to happen, he's going to be tough to trust. But in showdowns, it doesn't really matter. All you're looking for is like a touchdown from Latavius Murray. He's at a good price tag. Pascal had 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks. He's still getting a lot of playing time. Even though the yardage has kind of always been in the 30 to 40 range, he gives you some red zone opportunity. He has 3 touchdowns. Pittman has 0. So even though Pittman might get more targets near the goal line, they seem to look to like Pascal, or they look to like the tight ends. I like Mark Andrews a lot. He's only $6,600 in the flex. He's getting a lot better as the season has gone in terms of just being more productive for fantasy. He got 57 yards and 109 and 67 in the last 3 weeks. The targets have gone up each of the last 3 weeks, and the price tag is really nice. It's a huge difference from Marquise Brown, 11,000 down to 66. Then you get Sammy Watkins. He has yet to get his first touchdown as a member of the Ravens. That should come with the amount of time he's just on the field. The targets are super locked in, 7 to 8 targets. He has 4 catches in each game so far through the first 4 weeks. I think he makes a lot of sense as another guy that's way cheaper than Marquise Brown, that maybe doesn't have the same big play upside, but he's pretty solid with a good floor. And then you have Hines here, used as the third down back. Depends on how this game goes. If they get down, if they start trailing by a couple touchdowns, Hines will have a big game. If they have the lead, which right now they're not expected to, then Hines would kind of yield some of the work to Jonathan Taylor, and they'll try to run the football with him. But in this game, I expect them to be trailing, so I think Hines makes sense as a showdown option. Mo Alley Cox, guy that can get you some touchdowns, as we saw last week. He was big for Phillip Rivers last year. Carson Wentz finally started to utilize him last Sunday against Miami, and he's always a big body that's going to make an impact in the red zone just because he's so just has such a big size difference down there. Duvernay is 48. I think I would probably like to go down like up to Mo Alley Cox or Hines, or go all the way down to like Prochet, who has way cheaper with a chance to match the production from Duvernay at probably a lot less ownership. Both kickers, I think, are fine. I think Tucker is always a little bit of a better option. He's the best kicker in the league. They're going to let him kick 50-plus yarders routinely, even kick the 66 to win the game against the Lions. So, obviously, if this game does come down to like a close game, Tucker has a chance to really break the slate if he goes for a couple of over kicks over 50 or has like a game winner that we saw him do. So both kickers I like. Tucker gives you a good amount of upside at $4,000 only. Jack Doyle is 26. If you wanted to play him over Mo Alley Cox, his snaps have still been kind of steady. Last week it was because he was dealing with a back injury, but the targets have come down a little bit. I think Mo Alley Cox is starting to make a little bit more noise. And then you did see Granson get a decent production in terms of just snap counts. He only had 2 targets, 1 catch, 3 yards. But I think he will start to produce, especially if the Colts start to find themselves out of the playoff race as the season goes on. And just for the guys under $1,000, it's Devontae Freeman, depending on the running backs, which running backs are active. If Williams is active, I like him at $1,200, even though he's going to back up. He's going to back up Latavius Murray, but he could make some production, especially in passing down work. But I like Prochet. And then I would probably look down to like Granson at only $200. And If you wanted to play like Doolin at $200, these are guys you just probably have in your player pool. You'll be happy if they get a couple of catches or even one catch at $200. But on a showdown slate, you're basically looking for any sort of edge. So I always have to mention the guys at the bottom that are just on the field, that all it takes for them is to catch a couple passes. If they happen to catch a touchdown, then they're going to almost automatically be in the optimal just because they're so cheap. And looking at just some builds to kind of round out the DraftKings video, Lamar Jackson's always a good play at captain at the top end. If you wanted to pair him with anybody, I think a lot of people go Marquise Brown, which I do like, but I think the first guy would have to be Andrews. You can double stack him with Sammy Watkins. Both guys are super affordable. You can throw in Carson Wentz. You can pair Carson Wentz with, if you want to pair him with Mo Alley Cox, you could do that. You pair him with both tight ends. Carson Wentz does like to utilize the tight ends a lot, going back to his days in Philly. Or you can go up to Nyheim Hines if you think that this game will turn into a game that the Colts will have to throw a lot in the second half to get back in. That you'll see a lot more targets and a lot more snaps for Hines in the second half if they are trailing. So that's something you could do if you wanted to. Let's see, maybe not going to be able to get to Pittman. Maybe you can go Pascal. He's $8,200, and you can throw in one of these $200 guys, like whether that's Granson or whether that's Doolin at 200 or Oliver. Just guys that are going to run a couple of routes. Maybe they get a couple of catches, and that's all you need at that price tag. So another build, if you wanted to save some more money, you can go down to Prochet. He's $1,000. Leaves you with $6,650. So let's see if you play Pittman. You can play Pittman, and you can play Tucker. So you have Lamar Jackson paired with Andrews, Prochet, and then you have Wentz paired with his number one. Throw in Tucker. Gives you a good amount of upside at the kicker position. Like, he is topped 13, 17, so he's topped 11 plus in 3 of 4 games, which is really nice for a kicker. That's another build that you could look to. If you wanted to go cheaper at captain, maybe you want to play like Mark Andrews at captain. Play Lamar Jackson with him. Play Carson Wentz. Play Tate, or you could play Jonathan Taylor if you wanted to. You have $3,750 now, where you can go with Jack Doyle. And then you could throw in Duvernay if you wanted to. But let's see. Instead of going Taylor, let's see if we go Pittman instead. Now at $4,150 to work with. And in this situation, we could go with Jack Doyle. And then go up to Hines once again. So this is kind of more of a cold stack if you think they will end up getting the surprise win. You still have Jackson paired with Andrews just to get a couple of exposure from the Ravens. But personally, I think the Ravens will win the game. So a captain play for me is going to be Lamar Jackson. He just gives you so much upside on a showdown slate for captain, especially with Carson Wentz, not really running a lot, dealing with some ankle issues right now, and that passing offense hasn't been the best. So give me Lamar Jackson. I think I want to pair him with Mark Andrews today at only 66. And then I would still like to get to Carson Wentz just because he's not even that expensive. He's only $10,200. He's $400 more than Taylor. He's cheaper than Marquise Brown. So, and then I think if you wanted to go all the way at the bottom, I'd like Prochet at only $1,000. Save you some money, give you some upside, and I don't think he'll be too popular. So I'll probably have like 4 Ravens, probably a 4-2 stack, or definitely at least a 3-3 stack. I don't see myself going with less than 3 Ravens on a team. So that's it for the DraftKings side. Let's jump over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, it's no surprise that Lamar Jackson is the most expensive player. He's the most expensive player by $3,000. That is a huge difference. If you play the 2 quarterbacks, you're left with $96.67. So scrolling down a little bit, you do get a good price tag on like Pittman at $11,000. Pascal's only $95, so I like him more than Pittman based on the price tag. On DraftKings, it's probably go Pittman if you can make it work. But FanDuel, the savings on Pascal are pretty nice, $1,500. Watkins is only $75, so that's really easy to get to. And you're left with $12,000. So at the bottom here, you can make an argument to go with Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle. I feel like one of the 2 tight ends will have a good game. Prochet is only $6,000. If you wanted to go to a cheap guy at the bottom, he would be the play. And now you have $12K to plug in like a Mark Andrews. If you want to do that, do a 3-2 with Lamar Jackson paired with Andrews, Watkins, and then you have Pascal on the other side. Or you can throw in like Mo Alley Cox at $7,000. Now you have $2,500 left to work with. You can throw in Marquise Brown here over Andrews, and now you have $1,000. You can save that $1,000 on the table, or upgrade from Watkins to Blankenship, or upgrade Mo Alley Cox to Hines. So a lot of ways to go over on FanDuel, but I think the top, 3 players that I really like are Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, and then Watkins, just based on that $7,500 price tag. Is just really cheap for a guy that's looking at 7 to 8 targets every single week. So that's about it for the showdown. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll see you all next time.